This video is about she went to the rooftop bar and a billionaire handed her an umbrella. If this story touches your heart, please mention where you are watching from in the comments. Please like the video and share your thoughts in comments. The city stretched out beneath the last rays of the sun, the skyline punctuated by glimmers of light that flickered to life as twilight descended. Atop the rooftop bar, the clinking of glasses mingled with laughter, a tapestry of human revelry woven high above the bustling streets. Clara adjusted the strap of her sundress as she pushed through the doors onto the terrace, the warm evening air wrapping around her like a comforting embrace. It had been a long week, one too many late nights spent at the office and early mornings fueled by caffeine. Tonight, she sought respite and perhaps a spark of fun, a temporary escape from the weight of responsibility that felt far too heavy on her shoulders. She surveyed the scene, noting the trendy patrons couples cozied up, friends celebrating achievements, and solitary figures lost in thought. Clara clutched her clutch and made her way to the bar, her pulse quickening with anticipation. "Can I get you something?" the bartender asked, already eyeing her with a warm smile. "Just a gin and tonic, please. Make it strong," she replied, her voice steady despite the flutter of nerves. "Coming right up," he said, pouring with precision. As she waited, her gaze drifted across the terrace, landing on a figure leaning against the railing. He was tall, his dark hair tousled by the gentle breeze, wearing a well-fitted suit that spoke of untold wealth. Clara didn't usually entertain thoughts of billionaires, too many expectations, too much pressure, but he exuded an easy charm that made her curious. The bartender slid her drink toward her, and Clara took a sip, savoring the crispness. She turned back to the view, the city lights shimmering below like fallen stars, when suddenly a distant rumble of thunder reminded her that storms often come unexpectedly. "Looks like rain," she muttered, glancing at the horizon where dark clouds gathered ominously. "Not to worry," a smooth voice interrupted, and she turned to find the stranger beside her, a playful smirk on his lips. "I've got an umbrella if you need it." His eyes were a deep shade of blue, and Clara felt an involuntary flutter in her stomach. "Oh, I didn't realize I was in such good company," she replied, trying to maintain a casual demeanor while her heart raced. "I am just a humble billionaire trying to save the day," he quipped, extending his hand. "Daniel, by the way." "Clara," she said, shaking his hand firmly, surprised by the warmth of his grip. "So, Clara, do you come here often?" he asked, leaning slightly closer, the scent of his cologne a subtle blend of cedarwood and citrus invading her senses. "First time, actually," she admitted, trying not to show how his proximity sent a thrill down her spine. "I thought I'd treat myself after a long week at work." He nodded knowingly. "I can relate. Balancing $1 billion empire and personal life is no small feat either." "Is that why you frequent high-altitude bars? To escape the pressures?" she asked with a teasing lull, surprised by the ease of their banter. "Something like that, but I also love the view." His eyes wandered to the skyline, then returned to her. "And the people, of course. You never know who might surprise you." "So, you were saying I am a surprise?" Clara raised an eyebrow, feeling a spark of playful chemistry between them. "Definitely a pleasant one," he replied, his gaze lingering a moment too long, sending her heart racing. Just then, a gust of wind swept across the terrace, causing several patrons to shiver and pull their jackets tighter. The low rumble of thunder returned, this time louder, and Clara instinctively stepped closer to Daniel, seeking warmth and perhaps a shield against the growing storm. "Maybe I should take you up on that umbrella offer," she said, her heart pounding for a reason she couldn't quite decipher. Daniel's smile widened, a hint of mischief in his eyes. "Let us make it a little adventure, shall we?" Clara nodded, intrigued and somewhat exhilarated by the idea of stepping into the storm with this intriguing man. They made their way through the bar, the atmosphere buzzing with excitement, and headed down the staircase to the ground level. The rain began to fall lightly as they exited, the first droplets painting the pavement. Daniel unfolded the umbrella, large enough to shield them both, and held it above their heads with a casual grace. "So, what do you do, Clara, aside from charming billionaires?" he asked, his gaze cutting through the rain. "I work in marketing, mostly digital strategies," she answered, trying to sound composed. "It can be exhausting, but rewarding when you see the results." "Sounds like you know how to sell an idea," he said, a glimmer of admiration in his eyes that made her cheeks flush. "I try," she replied, her smile growing genuine. "And your empire, what's the secret to managing it all?" "Honestly, it's about surrounding myself with talented people. I can't do it all alone." He paused, a hint of vulnerability creeping into his voice. "But there are days it feels overwhelming." Clara sensed a deeper story behind his words, a crack in the polished exterior he always presented. I can imagine. You seem like someone who carries a lot on their shoulders. He chuckled softly, the sound rich and warm, yet tinged with an undertone of something unspoken. It is true, but I prefer to focus on the positives, like meeting interesting people. They reached a small cafe, its warm lights glowing invitingly through the glass. Should we take refuge? Clara suggested, her heart racing as he held the umbrella steady over her. Absolutely. Daniel stepped aside and gestured for her to enter first, and she felt a warm flutter at his gallantry. Once inside, the scent of coffee and fresh pastries enveloped them, the atmosphere cozy and intimate. Daniel motioned to an empty table in the corner where they could still see the rain-soaked street outside. As they settled in, Clara found herself unable to ignore the magnetic pull she felt towards him. So, what does a billionaire do for fun? She asked, her curiosity piqued. Surprisingly, I am pretty normal. I love the arts, music, and occasionally an adventure. I think everyone deserves a little excitement. He leaned forward, his expression earnest. What about you? I am more of a quiet night-in kind of girl, but I do enjoy a good concert now and then, she admitted, her heart racing as their eyes locked again. Perhaps I could tempt you into a little adventure then, he suggested, his voice dropping an octave, the air thickening with tension. Tempting, she replied, biting her lip, feeling the chemistry simmer between them. But it depends on the adventure. A dinner at the jazz club next week, he proposed, his gaze unwavering, the weight of his words settling between them. I'll think about it, she teased, unable to hide her smile, her heart fluttering in response to the intensity of his focus. As they continued to talk, the conversation flowed effortlessly, punctuated by laughter and shared stories. Clara felt her walls crumbling, revealing parts of her she hadn't shared with anyone in a long time. She caught flashes of vulnerability in Daniel, moments where his laughter faded momentarily, revealing a more complex man beneath the billionaire facade. But as they laughed and connected, doubts crept into the corners of Clara's mind. What did a man like him see in someone like her? Would he still be interested when he learned about her struggles? The thought of potential rejection sent a pang of insecurity through her. Yet, as she looked into his eyes, she wondered if maybe, just maybe, he could see past her self-doubt. Maybe he saw the woman hiding behind the layers of anxiety, a woman who craved adventure and connection. The storm lingered outside, but inside the cafe, beneath the warm glow of the lights, Clara allowed herself to embrace the moments of joy shared with this intriguing stranger, a brief respite from the reality of her whirlwind life. Little did she know this encounter would challenge everything she thought she knew about herself and about what it meant to let someone in. As the rain droned softly against the cafe windows, Clara found herself entranced by Daniel's animated expressions, each shift of his features drawing her deeper into his world. The light above illuminated his dark hair, casting a soft glow around his face, emphasizing those deep blue eyes that seemed to hold secrets yet to be revealed. "Tell me about your last adventure," Clara prompted, leaning forward slightly, her elbows resting on the table. She wanted to know more about him, to peel back the layers of the enigmatic man sitting across from her. Daniel paused, taking a sip of his coffee, as if the question had stirred something deep within him. "My last proper adventure," he began, his gaze drifting toward the rain-dappled street outside, "was a spontaneous trip to a small island off the coast of Greece. It was just me and my best friend, no plans, no agenda, just sun and sea." Clara's heart quickened at the imagery he painted. "That sounds incredible. Did you find any hidden gems?" "Oh, countless. We ended up at this tiny tavern where the owner claimed to make the best masaka." His lips curled into a grin. He was right, but the secret was his grandmother's recipe, which he refused to share. "Of course he did." Clara laughed, picturing the scene, the salty breeze and sun-kissed skin. "Those family recipes are sacred." "Exactly. He did, however, regale us with stories of the island's history. By the end of the night, I felt like I'd traveled through time," he said, his tone shifting with nostalgia. "What about you? Any memorable adventures?" "I've been pretty predictable lately," she confessed, the weight of her routine washing over her. "But I did go on a hiking trip last summer. I ended up lost for hours, which was terrifying but exhilarating." "Lost?" Daniel's brows shot up playfully. "How did you survive?" Clara chuckled, warming to the memory. "I had my phone, but no signal, so I just kept walking. Eventually, I found this breathtaking waterfall. It felt like a reward for my stupidity." "See, sometimes getting lost leads to the best discoveries," he declared, leaning in closer, the intensity of his gaze making her pulse race. "You should let me take you on an adventure someday. I promise I'll keep you from getting lost." She felt her cheeks warm at the thought, caught in the tension of unspoken possibilities. And where would that be? More than a simple hike and a waterfall, I hope, she teased, biting her lip, the way he leaned closer, igniting a flicker of anticipation. How about we skip the hike and go straight to the jazz club? Daniel suggested, his voice low and filled with promise. The jazz club? Clara echoed, her heart pounding at the thought. The idea of sharing music and dancing under the dim lights excited her. I might just take you up on that. The exchange hung in the air, the chemistry between them palpable, electric. Yet beneath the thrill, Clara felt a tug of doubt. This man was a billionaire, and she was merely a marketing professional. Could they truly have a connection beyond this evening? Are you okay? Daniel's voice broke through her thoughts, concern etching his features a stark contrast to the playful charm he'd displayed moments before. You seemed a bit distant. She bit her lip, trying to mask her insecurities. Just thinking about life, I guess. She offered a light shrug, careful to keep her tone breezy. Life has a way of sneaking up on us, he said, his expression softening. I know that all too well. Sometimes it is easier to hide behind the success than to let people see the real you. His admission hung between them, and for a moment Clara caught a glimpse of the man behind the polished exterior. What do you mean? She asked, her curiosity piqued, feeling compelled to dig deeper. Daniel hesitated, the vulnerability flickering in his eyes. I've spent so much time building my business, molding my image, but what has lost in that process is the ability to connect genuinely with people. Sometimes I wonder if anyone sees me for who I really am. Clara felt a pang of empathy, her heart softening toward him. I think we all wear masks at times. It is easier to show the version of ourselves that feels safe. Exactly, he replied, his tone earnest. And yet, here we are sharing stories. It feels refreshing. She smiled, heartened by the shared vulnerability. I guess it helps to step outside our comfort zone sometimes. Like tonight, he added, his eyes sparkling with mischief. You in a cafe with a billionaire, hiding from the rain, a true adventure. And you, the billionaire, holding my umbrella. A real knight in shining armor, she quipped, her playful tone dancing in the air. More like a man trying to impress a remarkable woman, he countered, a slow smirk creeping onto his lips. The air charged with unspoken tension as they locked eyes, each moment stretching longer than the last. Just then, the bell above the cafe door jingled as a new group of patrons entered, interrupting the moment. Clara felt a tinge of disappointment, the chemistry momentarily disrupted. The barista called out orders, laughter filled the air, and the cozy ambience buzzed with energy. Clara's stomach churned as she registered the arrival of a woman who caught Daniel's eye. She was striking, with glossy curls and a designer outfit that screamed elegance. Daniel, the woman exclaimed, her voice a melodic blend of excitement and familiarity. I didn't expect to see you here. What are you doing with? She turned to Clara, her eyes assessing, a flicker of surprise crossing her features. Just enjoying some coffee, Daniel replied, the easy charm in his voice faltering slightly as he introduced Clara. This is Clara. We met at the Rooftop bar. The woman's smile didn't reach her eyes. Nice to meet you, Clara. I am Vanessa, Daniel's friend. The way she emphasized the word left Clara feeling a twinge of unease. Hi, Clara managed, forcing a smile as Daniel's expression shifted, a subtle tension creeping into the air. It was as if he could sense the shift, the sudden weight of expectations and assumptions. Are you two here on a date? Vanessa asked, her tone playful but laced with something sharper. Clara could feel the heat rising in her cheeks. That is not. Daniel started, but Clara interjected, deciding to take the wind out of the sails of this unexpected confrontation. You're just enjoying a conversation, Clara replied, her voice steadier than she felt, aiming to diffuse the situation. Nothing more, right, Daniel? Right, he echoed, but the hesitance in his voice made Clara question whether he was being entirely truthful or merely playing along. Vanessa's gaze lingered on Daniel, and Clara felt a flicker of possessiveness rise within her, a feeling she hadn't anticipated. Well, I am glad you found each other, Vanessa said, a hint of condescension coloring her words. Keep him grounded, Clara. He tends to float off into the clouds. As she walked away, Clara felt the air grow colder, the warmth of the moment suddenly overshadowed by an invisible wall that had risen between them. Sorry about that, Daniel said, his expression tight as he shifted in his seat. It is fine, Clara replied, though her mind raced with questions. Why did he seem so affected? And who was this Vanessa? Vanessa and I grew up together. She is complicated, he admitted, his eyes distant. But there is nothing between us. Clara nodded, forcing a smile but feeling the crack of uncertainty deepen. It's okay, really. I didn't expect to be part of your world. Don't say that. His gaze was earnest, searching hers for understanding. You are not just a part of my world. You are a welcome breath of fresh air. The sincerity in his words sent a rush of warmth through her, yet that lingered in the back of her mind. Could she really trust this connection amidst the chaos of their lives? Would he still see her as someone special once the initial thrill faded? Let us get out of here, Daniel suggested, breaking her thoughts. The rain is letting up, and I'd hate for that to be the last we share tonight. Okay, Clara replied, standing as he did. As they left the cafe, she felt a mix of exhilaration and uncertainty, the storm outside matching the turbulence she felt inside. They stepped into the cool evening air. The rain transformed into a gentle drizzle, each droplet catching the light like tiny stars. Clara turned to Daniel, her heart racing at the thought of what lay ahead. What next? She asked, trying to rein in the chaotic thoughts swirling in her mind. How about I show you one of my favorite places? He suggested, a hint of mischief returning to his eyes. It is just a short walk from here. Lead the way, Clara replied, her pulse quickening as they ventured into the night, the uncertain path ahead shimmering with possibilities. Little did she know that this unexpected journey would pave the way for revelations that would test both their hearts and redefine what they thought was possible between them. The city streets glistened in the aftermath of the rain, the remnants of droplets reflecting the bright lights of shops and cafes. Clara walked beside Daniel, the umbrella still shielding them from the mists that lingered in the air. A heady mix of excitement and doubt churned in her stomach, each step igniting the allure of the connection while reminding her of the uncertainties that loomed. Where are we headed? Clara asked, trying to keep her tone light despite the flutter of nerves dancing in her chest. Daniel glanced over, a playful grin tugging at his lips. It's just a little spot I discovered a while back. It is cozy, perfect for conversation. She felt a warmth bloom in her chest at his thoughtful consideration. Sounds nice. I could use another cozy spot right about now. As they walked, Clara stole glances at Daniel, captivated by the way he seemed at ease despite the storm brewing just moments before. His confidence, mixed with moments of vulnerability, painted an intriguing picture of a billionaire with layers yet to be unveiled. They turned a corner, and Daniel guided her toward a small alley adorned with twinkling fairy lights that danced above their heads. The ambience shifted from bustling city life to an intimate retreat, and Clara felt her heart race. Wow, she breathed as they stepped into the open-air courtyard, a hidden gem alive with the hum of conversation and the soft strains of jazz music wafting through the air. Welcome to the Nook, Daniel said, his pride evident as he surveyed the space. It is a little piece of magic away from the world. Clara marveled at the rustic charm, a small bar lined with colorful bottles, mismatched tables draped with flickering candles, and a small band playing just off to the side. This is amazing, she said, her voice a blend of awe and gratitude. Daniel's eyes sparkled. I thought he'd appreciate it. It has always been a place where I can unwind. As they settled into a secluded corner table, Clara felt the weight of the earlier encounter with Vanessa slipping away. The warm glow of the candles illuminated Daniel's features, and she couldn't help but admire the way he talked passionately about the place. The jazz clubs have a certain magic. Don't you think? He asked, leaning forward, his intensity captivating her. The music, the atmosphere, it is all about connection. Absolutely, Clara replied, her heart racing as their eyes locked. There is something raw and genuine about it. Exactly, he affirmed, his gaze unwavering. Just like moments like this. After ordering drinks, Clara felt a rush of exhilaration as they began to share stories. Daniel spoke of his early days building his business, the challenges he faced, and the moments that shaped him. She hung on every word, captivated not just by the stories but by the man behind them. I remember my first big break, he said, chuckling as he leaned back in his chair. I thought I knew everything. Turns out I was just lucky, but sometimes luck is all you need. Clara laughed, the sound mingling with the soft jazz. I can relate. I thought I had my career mapped out, but life had other plans. Like getting lost on a hike, he teased, his eyebrows lifting playfully. Hey, that was an adventure. Clara shot back, a grin spreading across her face. The playful banter ignited a spark, and she felt the chemistry between them simmering just below the surface. Maybe I should take you on a safer adventure next time, he suggested, leaning closer, the intensity of his gaze sending her heart racing. No getting lost, promise. I'll hold you to that, Clara replied, her voice barely above a whisper, the air thick with unspoken tension. Just then, the waiter arrived with their drinks clinking glasses that broke the moment. Clara took a sip of her cocktail, the sweet flavor dancing on her tongue, yet she couldn't shake the feeling that something was shifting beneath the surface. Speaking of adventures, Daniel began, his tone shifting slightly. What do you think makes a good one? Unexpected twists, I think, Clara mused, her gaze drifting to the band, their music wrapping around them like a warm blanket. It is about opening yourself to the unknown. I like that, he replied, eyes narrowing playfully. So, are you open to more unexpected twists in life? She felt her cheeks heat as she met his gaze, the weight of his question hanging in the air. Depends on the twist, Clara said cautiously. Some can be overwhelming. Daniel's expression softened. I get that. It is natural to feel uncertain, especially when things are going well. His words resonated with her, an unspoken understanding passing between them. Right? It is hard not to question what is real and what is just a fantasy, Clara admitted, her vulnerability creeping to the surface. Clara, he said gently, his voice low, I want you to know that I am here in this moment with you, whatever that means. They locked eyes, and for a brief moment the world around them faded. Clara could feel the pulse of the music, the laughter of other patrons, yet all she could focus on was the man sitting across from her. Was this real? Just as she opened her mouth to respond, Daniel's phone buzzed, breaking the tension. He glanced at the screen, his expression clouding for just a moment. Excuse me, he said, a hint of frustration lacing his tone as he stood to take the call, walking a few steps away. Clara watched him, her heart sinking slightly. She tried to shake off the feeling of unease that bubbled within her. Was he answering a business call? Did it really matter? Her mind raced with thoughts of Vanessa, the way she had looked at her, the assertive way she carried herself. Clara shook her head, trying to push the insecurity aside. This was a chance, an opportunity to explore something different. When Daniel returned, his expression was somewhat guarded, a shadow of tension lingering in his eyes. Sorry about that, just some business, he said, his tone shifting slightly. Everything okay? Clara asked, concerned. She could sense a change, the weight of unspoken words thickening the air between them. Yeah, just some ongoing negotiations, he replied, forcing a smile but not quite meeting her gaze. You know how it is. Right, Clara said, though the doubt gnawed at her. It seems like you have a lot on your plate. I do, he admitted, his tone a mix of sincerity and frustration. But that doesn't change how I feel about tonight. Tonight has been great, Clara replied, hoping to diffuse the tension. I really appreciate you sharing this place with me. Daniel nodded, his gaze searching hers, and for a moment, Clara felt a flicker of warmth. I am glad you were here, it is refreshing. As the band played on, they resumed their light-hearted conversation, but Clara couldn't shake the feeling that something deeper was at play. She caught glimpses of vulnerability in Daniel's eyes, moments where the mask slipped, revealing a man who carried burdens she couldn't yet fathom. Do you ever feel like you're a little too wrapped up in your world? She asked cautiously, hoping to peel back another layer. All the time, he admitted, a hint of melancholy lacing his words. I've spent so long building this life that sometimes I forget to enjoy it. Clara felt a jolt of empathy, her heart softening toward him. What do you enjoy when you're not working? He paused, his eyes drifting to the band. Being here, moments like this, connecting with genuine people. The gazes locked once more, and Clara felt a rush of warmth at his admission. I'd like to think I am genuine, she said, her voice steady despite the flutter of nerves. You are, he replied, the sincerity in his tone sending shivers down her spine. And I am grateful to have met you tonight. Me too, she murmured, her heart racing as the moments stretched between them. The chemistry hung like a taut string, ready to snap at any moment. Just then, the band transitioned into a slow, sultry tune, the tempo inviting couples to the small dance floor. Clara felt a flutter of excitement laced with apprehension. Do you dance? She asked, tilting her head slightly. I can give it a shot, Daniel replied, a playful spark returning to his gaze. But only if you lead. Clara laughed lightly, her nerves settling into something warmer. All right, but don't blame me if you step on my toes. He smirked, standing and extending his hand. A deal? As she took his hand, the warmth of his palm sent a rush of thrill through her. They moved to the dance floor, the world around them fading as they lost themselves in the music. Clara felt a rush of exhilaration. This was a new adventure, and she was ready to embrace it. Daniel pulled her closer, their bodies moving in rhythm to the seductive melody. She could feel the tension building, the undeniable chemistry between them intensifying with every movement. His gaze was steady, and Clara felt herself getting lost in the depths of his blue eyes. The The music enveloped them, wrapping Clara and Daniel in an intimate cocoon as they swayed to the slow, sultry melody. The world outside faded away, leaving only the soft glow of candlelight and the gentle hum of the band. Clara felt every part of her body attuned to the warmth of Daniel's hand resting on her waist, and the way he held her close stirred an exhilarating blend of notes and excitement deep in her core. "See, this isn't so bad, is it?" he murmured, his breath warm against her ear, sending shivers down her spine. "No, it is not bad at all," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper as she leaned into him, feeling the strength of his presence. The moments stretched between them, an unspoken promise lingering in the air. As they danced, Clara's insecurities began to surface again. She wondered how long this could last. After all, they were from two different worlds. Could this billionaire truly see her as someone special, or was she just a fleeting moment in his busy life? Doubts crept in, threatening to overshadow the warmth blossoming in her chest. "Clara," Daniel said, pulling her slightly closer, "what are you thinking about?" Caught off guard, she met his gaze, feeling exposed. "Just life," she said, trying to sound nonchalant. "And this moment." He studied her for a moment, his expression shifting to something more serious. "You know, I've been thinking a lot about that too. Moments like this remind me why I crave connection." "Is that hard for you?" she asked, her curiosity piqued, wanting to understand the man behind the charm. "With everything you have, I do think it would be easier." He chuckled softly, but there was a hint of sadness behind it. "You do think, right? But the truth is, it can feel isolating. People see the success, but rarely the person behind it." Clara felt her heart ache for him. "That must be lonely," she said, her voice gentle. "It can be," he admitted, the weight of vulnerability evident in his eyes. "But then I meet someone like you, someone who reminds me of the beauty of simply being present." Her breath caught in her throat, his words igniting a spark of hope mingled with fear. He was drawing her into a world she had never dared to imagine, and part of her wanted to dive in fully. But another part hesitated, haunted by the thought of what might be lost. As the song faded into a lively number, Daniel took a step back, pulling her hand into his. "Shall we?" "Shall we what?" she asked, bemused. "Dance freely." He twirled her, and Clara laughed, surprised by the spontaneity. The moment felt like a burst of life, bright and airy, allowing her to shake off the lingering doubts. The energy of the music swept them up, pulling Clara into a rhythm that made her forget her worries. She lost herself in the dance, reveling in the thrill of the moment, her laughter mingling with his, a symphony of joy and connection. As the night wore on, they found themselves back at their table, breathless from dancing. Daniel leaned back, watching her with a playful glint in his eyes. "You have a surprising amount of energy. I might need to hire you as my personal dance coach." Clara grinned, her heart still racing from the adrenaline. "You'd be surprised how much caffeine I consume to keep up." "Somehow, that makes sense," he said, chuckling, but his gaze lingered, unsettling the flutter in her stomach. "But really, you are an incredible dancer." "Thank you," she replied, a blush creeping into her cheeks. "Though I think you are giving me too much credit." "I don't think I am," he countered, leaning forward slightly. "You have a natural rhythm, Clara. It is intoxicating." The compliment lingered, a sweet tension building between them. Just then, a familiar figure caught Clara's eye, a couple sitting at a nearby table, their laughter ringing out. One of them was Vanessa. Clara's stomach twisted, and she quickly turned her gaze back to Daniel, who seemed to have noticed too. "Is she a friend of yours?" Daniel asked, his voice steady but with an undercurrent of curiosity. "More like someone who is not shy about intruding," Clara replied, trying to keep her tone light but feeling a wave of discomfort wash over her. "She seems to know you well." "She does," Daniel said, his expression tightening slightly. "But I wouldn't call her a close friend. It is more complicated than that." "Complicated how?" Clara asked, genuinely intrigued despite the knot of jealousy forming in her stomach. "Let us just say Vanessa has her ideas about what my life should look like," he said, his tone evasive. "And she often tries to impose them on me." "Sounds exhausting," Clara replied sympathetically, but she couldn't help but feel a pang of uncertainty. Was she just another idea in his life, something temporary? Daniel's gaze softened. "It can be, but I am trying to carve my own path, one that includes the people I genuinely connect with." She felt a rush of warmth at his admission, but doubt flickered at the edges of her thoughts. "How do you know what is real?" Clara asked quietly, the vulnerability of the question hanging in the air. "By trusting my instincts," he said, leaning closer, his voice low and earnest. And by being honest with myself and others, I want something real, Clara, and you feel real. Do I? She searched his gaze, longing for reassurance but afraid of what she might find. Absolutely, he replied, sincere and unwavering. You've breathed life into a part of me that has been dormant for too long. Her heart soared at his words, but the shadow of her insecurities lingered. But what happens when the reality sets in? When you go back to your world, and I go back to mine? Daniel frowned, a flicker of frustration crossing his features. Why do you keep bringing that up? Can't we just enjoy this moment? I want to, she said, her voice a mixture of longing and fear. But it is hard not to think about what happens next. He sighed, running a hand through his hair, frustration and confusion etched on his face. I am not looking for a fling, Clara. I am looking for something deeper, something real. Then why does it feel like we're dancing around something? She asked, her heart racing as the tension grew. I don't want to be someone you can keep in your life. Daniel's gaze darkened, the weight of her words hanging heavy between them. You're not just someone to me, you mean something. He leaned closer, their breaths mingling, the world around them blurring into insignificance. Clara could feel the magnetic pull between them, the electricity crackling in the air as she searched his eyes for clarity. Then let us not dance around it, she whispered, the vulnerability in her heart spilling over. What do we do? Daniel studied her, the tension thickening, every second stretching as they hovered on the brink of something monumental. We take it one step at a time, he said finally, his voice steady despite the chaos brewing inside. Together? Clara's heart raced at the prospect of taking that leap. Together, he affirmed, the promise hanging between them, a fragile yet potent thread binding their fates. As if on cue, the band shifted into a romantic ballad, the notes soaring around them, creating a cocoon of intimacy. Daniel took her hand, drawing her back into the dance, and Clara surrendered to the moment, her worries slipping away. They moved in sync, their bodies swaying gently as the music enveloped them. The world outside faded, and in that instant, all that mattered was a connection between them, raw, honest, and achingly real. As the night wore on, Clara allowed herself to be swept up in the moment, feeling the warmth of Daniel's embrace and the intoxicating thrill of uncertainty. She wanted to believe in this spark, to let it ignite something deeper than just a fleeting connection. In that small, magical corner of the city, amidst the soft glow of candlelight and the sweet strains of jazz, Clara felt the walls she had built around her heart begin to crumble one dance, one moment at a time.